Hi, good evening. Welcome to my daily live session on various topics for creating world class companies and exceptional leaders. My passion. And today I'll be speaking about the monthly business review. And before I do that, let me give you a brief recap of whatever I've been speaking till now. And after that, get on to the monthly business review a little more in detail. Unlike yesterday, today I'm not going to be doing anything with DoHo. It will be only talking about that monthly business review. So I'm sure we will be able to end it in about 10 minutes time. So let me start by the recap. So I've been talking about these topics, starting with contents, and then chakras, mindset, L2L system, scoreboards, and routine meetings. First, I spoke about chakras, which was basically about the way the uh, business flows are organized. Here, I had a short suggestion in the morning. I have not yet updated that to really put a human body also here to that, so that the human chakras can be also shown, which I'll do in the next coming days. So that the next time when I do it, I'll be updated with that new slide. And here, talking about various chakras, starting from the root chakra to the success chakra, and after that, I spoke about the mindset and culture. Mindset is the way individuals behave for perceiving, thinking, deciding, and acting. And culture is the way teams behave for perceiving, thinking, deciding, and acting. That is what I explained in one of the videos a couple of days back. And after that, I went on to explain the three domains of learning, which is the cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. And spoke about these three domains as something which is important for us to understand how we can change mindset. It's not about explaining the domains of learning. I'm not really a education specialist, but I only do a lot of research, reading, and through that I've gained this wisdom. And after that, I keep experimenting, so that these are the two sources for my wisdom. And then I went on to talk about how one could change mindset by using the principle of computational thinking, by first collating the entire context, and after decomposing it, defining the patterns and abstracting it, and bringing it to the cognitive, affective, or psychomotor domain maturity levels, and then creating an algorithm for individual tasks and collective tasks, which then keep alternating for changing the mindset using contextual hints. And then I spoke about the importance of the learning to learn system, a system which is existing and quite visible in any multinational company or any large, good, big, world class company, where you have daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly rhythms. And these rhythms are the learning rhythms, which is what that gives the sustenance, which is what that gives the continuous improvement, continual improvement in business processes. It's very simple. Everybody starts small, nobody starts big. As long as the continual improvement is happening and as long as the learning is happening, then one can grow. That is the core of any business. Then I spoke about the three different clock speeds of monitoring or steering and reporting in any company. It's important that the steering clock speed is faster than the reporting clock speed, and the monitoring clock speed is faster than the steering clock speed, so that there is a kind of an offset, and this offset is necessary for the system to stabilize before any action is taken. That is the next one which I spoke about on one of those days. And then I spoke about the organizations, the way they are, the way the functional skill and the agility is to be perceived in organizations at different levels of the company, from starting from a startup company to a global enterprise. This is basically to differentiate between standard and agile organization. And in one of my earlier videos, I had explained to you about the three different comparisons. One was agile and growth or agile mindset versus fixed mindset. And the other one was between Socratic and didactic way of learning. And the third one was between andragogy and pedagogy, two different ways of teaching. And then I went on to talk about the daily standing review day before yesterday. Yesterday, I went on to explain the weekly sharpening review, where I went on to demonstrate some of the examples in DoHo, where everybody in the team is involved for what should I say, discussing and debating and sharpening their respective skills through contextual hints, which is what I explained. And today I would be talking about the monthly review, which is equally important, monthly business review. And I speak about this agenda. Again, this is something which I have learned iteratively. It's not something which I have evolved in the first stage. I remember preparing this agenda when I was a planner way back in late 1980s. And after that, over the time, I've always had the opportunity to keep on optimizing this agenda in various roles, initially as line manager, then after that as a technical assistant to an executive director in Germany. He was the executive vice president for global manufacturing. And after that, as a business unit head, as a plant head, as a global product team, something like a global SBU, you can say, head. So in all these cases, I've tried to optimize this monthly business review. And what you see here is something which is optimized after so many iterations over last 20 to 30 years. And this is something which I recommend, and my clients also use it. The same sequence is very simple. There are totally about 7 points to be considered, which is extremely important. The first thing is that the agenda for the monthly business meet is decided and distributed 1 week in advance. That is something extremely important, so that we are clear what is the agenda during that meeting. Normally, it will be a standard agenda, but still there could be some specific topics to be considered, because in organizations, it's interesting to have a theme of the month, or you can say the topic of the month, or something which you can emphasize during 1 month, so that there is a tremendous focus only on that topic and it gets done. Then you go to the next topic. That's an easier way of doing it, instead of focusing on everything every time. It doesn't really work. Less is more is the principle, or the Pareto principle has to be applied even here. And therefore, the agenda is extremely important, 1 week in advance. And also then, once the agenda is distributed, make sure that everybody who's presenting something gives a handout as to what they're going to be talking about. And this needs to be distributed at least 2 days in advance. I remember sometime in early 90s when I was in Brazil, we used to talk about the basics for any meeting, to make the meetings very effective. The first and the foremost thing is to understand the agenda, which is what I spoke about just now. And the second is, after the agenda is understood, understand what is the outcome that you as a participant are desiring to get from that meeting. We are going to meeting, or not as observers, we have been invited because we have to contribute some to the meeting. Therefore, what way can I contribute, and what would be the outcome that I want to arrive from that? For doing that, I need to make a presentation. I need to really prepare myself. And that preparation is basically, first thing is to go into Gemba. Gemba is where the action happens, to really experience. I think one of the very interesting steps in design thinking, I'm sure all of you would have heard of design thinking. One of the very, very important steps in design thinking, you know what it is? It is to immerse yourself in the problem. Have you heard of that statement? Immersing in the problem. And that immersing in the problem, immersing in the reality, immersing in the workspace, immersing in the place where the actual value addition happens, whether it's a service company or a manufacturing company, irrespective of that, where the actual value addition happens. The immersing in that reality is extremely important. Service company immersing in the reality could be to sit in front of a computer and pick up the headphones and start answering the phone calls and working on tickets. It could be as simple as scanning invoices, putting it on the scanner and then scanning the invoice, and after that, making sure that the OCR recognizes the various elements in the invoice and they're captured in the ERP system or wherever you need to input that. Or maybe it could be as simple as listening to a doctor speak about his patient or her patient and then transcribing that. Doing it yourself, though you are a CEO, though you are a manager, doesn't really matter. Doing it yourself for some time is extremely important. That's when you really can immerse yourself in the reality. In the manufacturing, it's much more easier. It's just going to the workshop and then allowing the operator to stand next to you and be your guide, be your mentor, so that you operate the machine, you load the machine, you load the parts, you unload the parts. If it is deburring to be done, deburr the parts yourself. Of course, there is some amount of safety precautions to be taken because you are not used to doing that. You are not really trained to doing that. Your muscle memory is not trained to do that. Therefore, you need to be a little careful. So that is the most important thing, to immerse in the reality. To be able to immerse in the reality before you really propose something, before you really suggest something, it's mandatory that you know what the agenda is. I keep telling this to everybody, that we many a times believe that we know everything, and when we start trying to do that, then we understand what the difficulties are. The difficulties are very, very simple, very, very unique difficulties. There is a case where, let us say, I can't find a spanner which is required. Spanner is quite far. Or maybe in the case of software, I can't really find that file at all in the computer. I keep searching. It's somewhere, somebody has stored it on the desktop. There is no organization there. So things of that kind, small improvements can really result in big magical, outcomes, which can really be huge improvements. Therefore, it's important to immerse yourself in the reality. Very, very key element in design thinking. And this is what I mean by talking about getting the agenda distributed in advance and giving the presentation handout, so that everybody is clear what is the expectation from the meeting before you start the meeting. This has to be done individually. Otherwise, meetings will be waste of time. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Total waste of time, because there is no agenda. There is no preparation. Nobody have done any presentation. They've not given any thought. They just come there, walk in there. In fact, it's quite shocking. You know, the other day I was in a big company, and they're a big, large company, and then we went. It was a event where they had invited me on some specialist topics, and then I'd gone there, and along with me there were a couple of others also experts, and we had a closing meeting. You know, it was a 2-day event, and and in the closing meeting, a lot of big people walked in, and do you know what? I was really surprised. A lot of big people, but for the CMD and the executive director of R&D and the executive director of HR, all the others in the organization, general managers, senior general managers, additional general managers, then you had vice presidents, then you had executive vice presidents, all the big names just walked in as if they're getting to a movie. There is no book, there is no pen, nothing to note down. Only these three people had a book, a notebook where they can note down something. The CMD, the director finance, a director R&D, and the director HR. Imagine as it is set up like that. There were totally something around, I would imagine, 40 to 50 executives there. But for these three, none of them walked in with any paper to write down something. And that's what the perception of a meeting is. You just go there to enjoy. You just go there to spend time. Absolute nonsense. Crap it is. What a waste it is. 40 people sitting there, 40 executives. Each one must be definitely in a very top bracket. The top possibly 2% of an organization which has about 20,000 people or 30,000 people. And those guys are basically sitting there for 2 hours or 1 hour, 1.5 hours it was, doing nothing, just listening. It's like watching a movie. Imagine the colossal waste in that company. The other three gentlemen who came with the diaries, they noted down whatever we spoke, me and other two who were experts there, as to what our feedback was, what were our observations. They made a note of that. The others just sat there, listened to us, and after that went back. That's the end of it, end of the story. Do you think such a thing can be allowed? And that's the reason why meetings are useless, because the agenda is not available. There is no presentation, no preparation at all. So that's the first thing which is important. The second thing which is important is in any meeting, I keep talking about so many things. I'm quite excited on these topics because it is absolutely nonsensical that we do in organizations many times. The second thing is, which is very important, which is often missed, is to validate the proper functioning with efficiency and effectiveness of the daily standing meets and the weekly working meets. These two are extremely important. Imagine you are working on a monthly basis, but you don't know that the base is solid. So what is the fun in conducting a monthly meeting when the guys are not working at the ground level? They should be doing their weekly jobs, weekly working meet or weekly sharpening meet, and a daily standing review or a daily standing meet has to be happening. And how do you validate that? Maybe ask them to get some pictures of the today's meet, find out if the documents are updated. Recently, last week, I'd gone to one company. They wanted to do a training because they wanted a kind of a situation where they are on par. I think I spoke about this the other day in the video live session. They wanted to be on par with the world's best. Okay, absolutely fine. MD is great. Workers are great. In between the hierarchy, there's a lot of problem. Because what is the value out of the hierarchy? Hierarchy in between the MD and the operator. Operator is the one who is contributing direct value to the product. In between are the ones who are supposed to be guiding the operators, getting the best out of them, improving the organization, making sure that the targets are known to everybody and the entire organization runs in some direction. And imagine these guys have the job to make sure that all these daily reviews, weekly reviews are all happening. I go there, all the data, whatever that they had on the shop floor, everything is visualized, was at least 10 days old. What does that mean? What does that mean? Either you're doing something for the sake of some XYZ, which is of no use at all, then stop it. Stop it. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why do you want to waste time in getting somebody to fill up papers which is not of any use? And if you want them to fill up the papers and you see that there is a benefit in that, do it properly. And that is the second topic in the agenda, to really do that on every month. It has to be done at random. Need not be 100%, can't be 100% also at random. Only one case is sufficient. Next is ensure that there is a stakeholder scoreboard for self-perception, to understand how are your stakeholders seeing you, to get a holistic picture as to where do we stand today. That's the next one which is required. And then again, you can write to me. My email is, let me just show you my email. My email is, I think somewhere here it was, yeah, there it is. dinakarmurthy.com, and you can dinakarmurthy@samutana.com, and I'll definitely help you out in explaining as to how that scoreboard can be done. It's very simple. You need to really have smileys and then find out who the stakeholders are and do a self-assessment as to where do they stand based on the various experiences you have had during the month. It's a self-assessment, not a assessment by the respective stakeholder. And this is quite good to get a holistic picture of the overall situation. Once that is done, then the next topic is to talk about the business scorecard. Business scorecard should have definitely following things. Target should be there. Trends should be visible. Benchmarks and the best performance of all the key business metrics. Here again, a classic situation. Even today, I have running clients who have difficulty in showing data over time. I keep telling that you show the data over time, a lot of things will get opened up on its own. Imagine that in 1 month, I have a particular productivity of 6. The next month, it is 20. The third month, it is 14. There is no consistency at all. How the hell can it happen? There is something fundamentally wrong there. That's the place to dig in. So it's important to understand data over time. The trend is extremely important. Benchmarks are important, and the best performance or the best performance of and the targets, of course, so that you can see what is the potential the company has. That is the next one, business scorecard. Then you talk about what is called the purpose scorecard. This is basically look at agile maturity on what 3 topics which I spoke about in the chakras. This again the self-perception scorecard on intolerance for interruptions, how good the organization is on that. Awareness for authenticity, how good the organization is on that. Excitement for evolution. Now you can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 6 or whatever it is. I will talk about that tomorrow and day after as to how do you score, how do you assess an organization using the chakras, using the 7 business chakras. That will be my next theme, which I'll spend possibly another week or 10 days on doing that. From tomorrow, I'll start that. So talking about intolerance for interruptions, awareness, authenticity, and excitement for evolution. Where do you stand? And finally, most important thing, you can create a lot of systems, and unless it is being audited, continuously audited, that system will never work. So it's important to do audits, continuous audits, system and process audits. What is the difference? If you are working alone, then you know what needs to be done. You do it yourself. It is definitely done in your own way, so that there is no need for anybody to audit whether you did it correctly or not. It's your business, your company, your one-man show. Moment you have a company with multiple people, it's important that everybody is adhering to some kind of a principle, some kind of a guideline, so that there is consistency. And there is consistency not in terms of performance, also in terms of behavior. And therefore, these audits are extremely mandatory. So you need to do that audit on a monthly basis, review what the audits are. Tomorrow, in fact, we are going to be talking about that with one of our clients. They have done an audit to see what the audit results are. And when you do an internal audit, my request is have zero tolerance. Even if it is a small deviation, don't allow the deviation to be just put under the carpet. Make sure that it is transparent so that we find a solution. Audits are a huge gold mine for proactive improvement. Therefore, it is important that we do that. And finally, what is important is to talk about individual presentations followed by clearly articulated decisions. These things, what I spoke about, the validation of the proper functioning, stakeholder scoreboard, business scoreboard, purpose scoreboard, and the audits generally should be coordinated by coordinators within the organization for the entire organization. Then comes the individual presentations, which would be done, and there you make sure that the budget changes are approved for the next month, so that the show goes on without any problem for another 4 weeks, and then till the next business review meet, and then your meeting is over. This should take normally about between 2 to 3 hours, because it is not going to be a fast. Sometimes it can be 4 hours also, depending on the size of the company. But plan it out on a day when it is not that hectic. Some possibly in the second week of a month is the best I would suggest, because the first week of the month you would have done the update for the previous month, so you have the entire data available, and people have sufficient time to prepare also. Second week of the month is the ideal time to do that. And try doing this agenda once, and after that give me a feedback. I showed you my email. Write to me. I'll be more than happy to help you out to really become further world class. Whatever you are, you can further improve. Even there is no end to breaking a world record, right? So in the same way, in an organization, there is no end to improving, so you can improve further. So please write to me, use this monthly business review, and then wish you all the best. Till now, I explained to you about various concepts, and tomorrow I'll be talking about the way chakras can be used for assessing a company, which is the third or the fifth topic on the monthly business review. How do you create a scoreboard, a purpose scoreboard for self-random perception of agile maturity on intolerance for interruptions, awareness for authenticity, and excitement for evolution? That is what I'm going to be doing tomorrow onwards for another possibly 7 to 10 days. And then I'm sure that would also be of interest to you. I thank you a lot for viewing my live session, and please do share comments. It's interesting. That's the reason why live is something good. You can also ask a question. I will be more than happy to answer it live. Otherwise, thanks a lot for watching. And for those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, more or less at the same time, on the way the chakras can be used for assessing a company. Thank you so much, and goodbye.